You show us how to write a script, how to record and edit audio, and how to design our characters, but you didn't even tell us how to do the hardest part. And that is how to actually animate. And I guess how to add our audio and music to it. I need help with that. Okay, fine. I guess I gotta complete the 4 elemental videos on how to make animations. By the way, this video took me like 5 different tries. Hey everyone, it's Shortcake. Thank you for all your kind comments on my previous video. I guess I do have low self-esteem, but in 2026, I'm gonna try and work on that. Anyways, feel free to donate at least $3 to go-me.com/shortcake to get access to behind-the-scenes content through my Discord server. Hit the subscribe button and the like button because pressing buttons is fun. I have this special method that I use in animating literally everything, whether it be characters, typography, video editing, transitions, and 3D animation. I learned this method from Flipnote tutorials made by other artists back in the Flipnote Hatena days. This method is a trick for anyone who doesn't know how to animate or for any beginners out there looking to make some videos for fun. However, a big disclaimer, if you're looking to become a professional animator or motion graphics artist with actual animation skills, skip this video and go study the 12 principles of animation. There are plenty of resources about that online. So get out of here. And for the rest of you, come with me. How to move an object from point A to point B. I encourage all of you to whip out your animation applications or maybe even a stack of sticky note papers. If you have just an art program, you can use the layers and opacity slider to make your frames layer by layer. You can watch this video in case you want to know how I do that. Link is in the description. First, I choose the canvas size. For short-form portrait videos, you'll be using 1080 by 1920 pixels. For long-form landscape videos, the main canvas size is 1920 by 1080 pixels. This is what I'll be using. And of course, you can choose whatever canvas size you want, but just be aware of cropping or weird formatting issues that could arise when uploading your video online. I'm gonna start by adding a simple shape for the first frame, and I'm gonna put it on the left side of the canvas. Next, I'm gonna turn on onion skin, and for those using art applications, basically I lower the opacity of the first frame by about 50%. This onion skin will allow us to see the previous and following frames. For this second frame, I'm gonna duplicate the first frame and slide it a bit to the right. Make sure that the lines are close but not directly on top of each other. For the third frame, I'm gonna duplicate the second frame and drag it with a much bigger distance to the right. Do the same for the fourth frame by duplicating the third frame and move it just a tad bit to the right so that the lines are close to each other but not on top of each other. When I press play, the shape appears to slide from left to right. And notice how it eases out, then eases in. Congratulations, you just learned one of the principles of animation. Easy. What if I want to make the shape bouncy? I could bounce it by switching the frames around. For example, I'll switch frame 3 with frame 4. This results in a bouncy effect. And of course, if you want to add an in-between frame, I will add 1 frame between frame 3 and 4. As a result, it creates a more smoother appearance. However, it is important to note that more frames does not necessarily mean a smoother animation. Too many frames can cause your animation to look wobbly if the lines are not precise. Review the animation principles for more information on how to make smoother, higher quality animation. How to make an eye blink. Now that you know my unsecret animation method, you can now use it to animate eye blinks. First, I'll draw the character that will be blinking, but I will leave the eyes and eyebrows out. This could be my quote-unquote background layer, and on the layer above it will be the eye animation. I start by drawing the open eye and set it as frame 1. Then I draw the closed eye and set it as frame 2. Now that we have the main 2 frames, we'll use the animation technique I did with the shape in the earlier exercise. But instead of just duplicating and sliding, I will redraw it by hand. I'll add a new frame between frame 1 and 2, and using the onion skin, I will redraw the upper eyelid by going slightly lower. Frame 1 is the layer I want to draw the line close to, but I moved the line slightly towards the direction direction of frame 2. For this eye, I want it to close vertically or up and down. So to maintain consistency, I will keep the horizontal shape of the eye still. Now we have frame 1, 2, and 3. I'll add another frame between 2 and 3, but this time I draw the lines closer to frame 3 but move it slightly towards the direction of frame 2. Basically, I'm drawing the closed eyes a bit thicker than frame 3 to show the eye easing into the closed position. Now press play. We can duplicate and rearrange these frames to make a loop blinking animation. And play. That's how to make a blinking animation. Of course, realistic blinking looks different from this exaggerated blink, but it still looks cool and is a good practice for the next stage. How to animate a character from A to B. Characters can get complicated to animate, so make sure you start with a simply shaped character. I'll use my little gummy cake. So just like the eye blinks, we'll make the starting position A and the end position B. I decided that I want to do a simple head turn. This is my keyframe A and keyframe B. They're called keyframes because they're key to the animation looking decent. Make sure your keyframes are consistent in shape, form, and size. If it's not in proper form, your animation can end up looking uncanny or wobbly. To draw the in-between, I use the same animation method. It can get complicated, so be careful not to confuse yourself. I added a new frame between keyframe A and keyframe B, and using the onion skin I drew the line close to keyframe A, but I moved it slightly towards the direction of keyframe B. Now we have keyframes A and B, and in between 1. I will add another frame in between 1 and keyframe B, but this time I draw the lines close to keyframe B but move it slightly towards the direction of in between 1. I'll add another in between, which is between in betweens 1 and 2, but this time I draw the lines in the middle of the 2 in between frames. Now press play. So that's how I animate characters. This method seems simple, but it is probably not the best way to animate, as it can get overwhelming and complicated for more complex animations, and it will not apply to all types of animation. For instance, it doesn't work if you want to animate a walking sequence or ball bouncing. I highly recommend learning the principles of animation if you want to make complicated animations that don't just go from point A to point B. How to export your animation and download audio. When exporting my animations, I never use the export into a video option. I export all of my frames as individual PNGs because PNGs have the capability of being transparent. Make sure that when exporting your animation into PNGs, that the background is transparent. These apps are what I currently use to achieve sound effects and background music. Be careful out there though. Please take care not to download any viruses or click on suspicious links. Double check if it's a reliable website through online reviews or forums. Also, reminder to make sure that the audio you are retrieving is not copyrighted, unless you're okay with not earning money on your video. How to put your animation together. You can use any video editing program of your choosing. I like using After Effects for shorter, higher quality projects that need fancy effects and compositing, though I much prefer Vegas Pro for long-form video editing and Storytime animation. The drag and drop controls from this program makes it so intuitive and easy to arrange the frames visually. Here is Vegas Pro 23. I imported all the audio and animation files into the library. It's as simple as dragging and dropping the audio into the timeline. For the PNGs, I can go to Options, Preferences, and Editing and change the new still image length to 0.2 seconds. This shortens how long each frame is shown for, and I basically just rearrange the PNGs along with the audio. I press play and adjust the length of the frames and sync it. Slap on a background and that's the video. Now, when it comes to exporting the video into a video file, on Vegas Pro, I click on Render and I try to pick the best option for my video. I still struggle figuring out what is the best setting, but I generally pick the option that matches my video's pixel size, like 1080p and my video's frames per second. A good FPS is usually 24 FPS for animation. Having too much FPS can be unnecessary.
Are you really going to draw 50 different frames per second?
Tinker around with your export options to figure out the best option for you and your animation style. Congratulations! If you watched every video in this series, you're now prepared to develop your own videos and animations. I present to you the Certificate of Completion. Go on, fellow animator. Go on and make great things. Did this video help you? Did the series help you? Let me know in the comments what you were able to make. Thanks for watching. See ya!
Wow.